This is the New American Media. All right, we are back. This is the newamericanmedia.com. I'm Brian Engelman, joined once again by Blake, the eccentric Walley. I want to get into this one here. This is a gun policy and law enforcement study. Blake, do you have it pulled up in front of you?
I do. And
hang on, how'd you get southern? How'd you go southern on me? What happened there?
I have no idea.
Can you do a couple minutes in a southern voice? Like your Saxby Chambliss or something?
Police One's gun policy and law enforcement survey was conducted between March 4th and March 13th of 2013, receiving 15,595 responses from verified police professionals across all ranks and department sizes. Kind of.
Okay,
right.
That's good.
Working on it.
Okay.
It's a work in progress.
So here, let's dig into it. Let's dig into it. No, we don't need to do voices
right.
all day. We're not that kind
James
of...
Carville. All right, yeah. All right.
Wait, what's your Carville?
Well, I would need the phrases. It wouldn't be Carville unless I was actually reading the quotes, because then you got to have, because he has that certain, like, Louisiana those little sayings that he has, and without that, it's just not the same. But
well, that's
anyway.
What happens when you get a bulldog and a bumblebee fighting together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. Yeah.
that was kind of my George Bush.
That is good. All right, so yeah, they like to take this 90% thing. They did some Quinnipiac, or was it? How do you pronounce that, Brian? You're more into the college.
I'm more into the college. Quinnipiac, yes, Quinnipiac. Yeah, and if you guys don't know that Blake and I have been doing radio shows for about a year now. We often stumble across words, and I often have to correct them on the proper pronunciation or enunciation of said words, whether it's Cuyahoga, Louisianian, Quinnipiac, Daily Cause, Daily Coes, all those things. But it's a bit of a running joke that people don't know. But anyway,
good time.
Yes. So I mean, let me just tear through some of this data. This is 50.
Well, the Quinnipiac, yeah, because remember, just to lead that in, Quinnipiac has always been used. It's 1,772 people that they pulled.
Wow,
that's
not
a small
even
sample size.
Not even 2,000 people. That's ridiculous.
Random calls. I don't know exactly, but yes, they conducted and found out that 90% of them or whatever supported background check, but for firearm. But it doesn't really say were they already aware that there was a background and check in place already? I mean, you're talking about the low information voters. And, yeah, a question like that on its surface sounds good, but that's the one that Obama himself and the media just drag around. Oh, this 90% of the people want them, so why is all these Republicans stonewalling? So just to lead in with that. Go ahead.
And I don't want absolute lunatic nut jobs to be running around even more dangerous. But you know what? Who's the judge? Who's the judge? Who is going to get to determine who is fit and who is unfit?
Joe Biden and Dianne Feinstein and Chucky Schumer. It's going to be a 3-person panel, and they're going to decide every individual case.
Touché, good sir. Nicely played. But what I'm saying is, it's a Simpsons line I go back to when Homer's the vigilante. Lisa looks at him and says, "Well, Dad, if you're the police, who will police the police?" I don't know, Coast Guard? And the point is, when you have Department of Homeland Security saying that if you talk about the Constitution, you might be a potential terrorist. If you've served in the U.S. military and returned home, you might be a potential terrorist. If you had a Ron Paul bumper sticker, you might be a potential terrorist. If you question the validity of your government, you might be a potential terrorist. I mean, they are literally taking aim at the American people right now. It's laying the groundwork for something that could happen here where the good guys are going to try to be portrayed as the bad guys. So in that case, when people have been identified, they carry their tracking devices or cell phones around all day. All the Facebook posts, are you more right-wing or are you more left-wing? Are you more in favor with the current administration or more anti the current administration? And I'm not saying necessarily Obama. What about the next guy? Or to all you liberals out there that just incessantly defend Barack Obama, well, what if this was Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld in the Bush administration with all these Fourth Amendment violations, with drones in the sky spying on you like creepy Big Brother multiplied? The IRS trying to dig into your emails, the database collection center in Utah where the NSA is storing countless bytes of information that could be stored for hundreds of years, building dossiers on you and entire families and lineages. So, when you talk about this, do I want to be on a database as one of the people that could pose a problem to any invading country? Let's say, let's take it out the realm of like a civil insurrection or some sort of strife within, or a collapse here, a revolution, a civil war, or something like that. Let's just say China's pissed. They're gonna come over here and take the land. Oh, that'll never happen. Right. Nothing bad ever happens anywhere because we're America. Nothing ever bad happens here. No. Let's just say Mexico wants to take the United States, or take some of those Southwest states back. You know, I can't even make it like a ridiculous proposition because it all sounds so far-fetched. Canada wants Minnesota. You know, you don't want the Canadians to know which of the Minnesotans have the guns. You know, you need the element of surprise. Now, let's say the next person really does want to not just limit the Second Amendment, but repeal it. Where's their opposition going to be? Could you have an organized strike where you could identify all of the potential bad guys that are not on your side and take them out pretty quick? Yeah, shut off the power, keep your own power, take them out. Go, just big raids, localized raids. It could happen. I don't want to be on a database. I didn't do anything wrong. But when my own government and Homeland Security, they're pointing at the normal good guys, the returning war veterans, the people that are questioning, speaking truth to positions of power in our own government, when we're being turned into potential bad guys, well, if the government would ever turn bad under this or any future administration, I don't want them to know who I am and what I've got and where I am. They have no business digging into that part of my life. That's an illegal search and seizure. I don't like it. I don't want the nut jobs to have access to this stuff. But what they're doing and trying to push, it's pretty disgusting how they're hiding behind the children to do this, and we're all disgusted by what happened at Sandy Hook and Columbine and the Batman mass, you know. But we're also disgusted by the guy that walked into a Home Depot and started sawing through his arms. We're disgusted by the guy down in Texas that stabbed how many people with an X-Acto knife. So what are we gonna do? Are we gonna ban the cafeteria because they have knives? Are we gonna ban art class because they have knives in there? Yeah, I mean, it's like there are millions of people killed in car crashes, but we don't ban the vehicle. Remember Prohibition? We tried Prohibition. That doesn't work. That just makes Al Capone. It makes the bad guys badder, and it makes the good guys helpless. So, Blake, sorry. Thanks for letting me go on this rant, but it's
all good.
Yeah, I just haven't talked about it in a minute here. But let's tear into the details of it. No, unless you had a comment on all of that crap I just went through.
No, I'm with you. I'm on the same page for the most part there. Yeah, I don't see really anything I disagree with. So, yeah, I'm ready to rock out this poll whenever you are. Yeah. Or if we had any other things
now you sound like
this,
you sound like a Las Vegas entertainer. Now I'm ready to rock out this poll.
Right.
Coming up next, it's Candy. All right, so number one in this survey of 15,595 verified police professionals.
Well, yeah, that's the deal. The deal is that you got 1,700 random people that are used in this Quinnipiac whatever poll.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, and yeah, so 90% of them, and that's blah, blah, blah. They want to harp on that. But anyway, on April 8th, so what is about 4 days ago, a new poll comes out of the people that really do know what's going on with gun control because they are verified law enforcement officers. So they were polled, and their results were a little bit different than this like general random people. Because I mean, what good is a poll if you're calling some soccer mom who watches MSNBC who's never owned a gun in her life, and you ask her about what does she think about gun control? I mean, you already know what kind of answers you're going to get, and polls are kind of it depends on how you phrase the questions, and there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Okay,
but
well,
if there's
what's
one poll you really want to know, yeah, it's the people that actually deal with the sorts of things every day. It's their job, it's their lives. So far, I haven't seen MSNBC or anybody in the liberal media acknowledge this poll because this absolutely dwarfs that little Quinnipiac poll that they came out with, that they've been using and throwing in our face for the last few months. So, anyway, proceed, Brian.
This is 76% are current law enforcement, 18% retired. I don't know, was it 5% neither? I'm not sure which exact branch that would be since they're verified.
Either way.
you know, you go through here.
NSA at the Utah base or something. Not a lot. They don't want to say.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to the NSA. Thanks for listening in. As Rap News says in Rap News 15. We're going to play that. Actually, you know what? I think I'll play that as the outro. Stick around. Make sure you listen to Juice Media, Rap News 15, called Big Brother is Watching. Got to listen to it. It is amazing stuff. You know, I like that song, I'm going to pop some tags, only got $20. You know, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fun song. But I could definitely hear Rap News 15 by Juice Media on the radio. It is an amazing rap song. Anyway, so the rest of this poll, it starts talking about how big is the size of your department. What's your rank? You know, the 30% are officers, 20% sergeants. You know, and then it gets into some of the meat of it here. Question number 4. What effect do you think the passage of the White House's currently proposed legislation would have in improving police officer safety? Well, significant. Hang on. How do you rate? What effect would it have? A significant response? Well, 3% believe it would have a significant reaction
on their safety. So if Obama's White House's currently proposed legislation, would it have an improvement in their safety? And, yeah, it's interesting to note that pretty much nobody said anything. You're looking at about 10% that said it might have an improvement. And you got, 60% that say it wouldn't have anything at all, wouldn't do anything for their safety whatsoever, and 25% would say it would actually have a negative effect on their safety.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah,
add 60 to 25. That's 85% of the police officers saying 6 out of 10 say this will have no effect. And 1 in 4 say this is actually going to make things worse. Cue Obamacare.
Yeah, because they're the poor souls that are going to have to go door to door and start talking about your guns and stuff, and they don't know what kind of nightmare they're going to be walking into. How would you like to go up and start knocking on, you're looking to knock on the door and you see like a big sticker like, I'm a proud member of the NRA and back off of my, one of those little classic lines that freaks out the gun grabbers. You want to go knock on their person's door and start asking them questions about, what kind of firearms do they have and where do they keep them and blah, 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 go over all the... No, I certainly wouldn't. I don't think most cops would have anything to do with that. So, yeah, it would probably have a negative effect on their safety in that regard.
Question number 5. What effect do you think a federal ban on manufacture and sale of some semi-automatic firearms, termed by some as assault weapons, would have on reducing violent crime? 71%, no effect. And the second largest number, 20%, 1 in 5, it would have a negative effect. Question number 6. Do you think a federal ban on the manufacture and sale of ammunition magazines that hold more than 10 rounds would reduce violent crime?
That's a key one, Brian, because that's the one they keep talking about. Oh, why do you need 30 rounds? Who needs that? You're not a hunter. Why can't we just reduce it down to 10? It's gonna do all this great things. It's gonna prevent another new town. It's gonna do this. And then, here's the cold reality. Go ahead and read that again, Brian.
Do you think a federal ban on manufacture and sale of ammunition magazines that hold more than 10 rounds would reduce violent crime? No. A resounding 96% of the participants stated. 96%.
Yeah.
Not even close. Not even close, folks.
Because after all these months of, the 30-round mags, it's the worst thing ever, these assault weapons, who needs that? Oh, my God, Anyway.
Question 7.
There's the reality. 96% of the people that actually know what they're talking about think you're full of it. Okay.
Question 7. Do you think a federal law prohibiting private, non-dealer transfers of firearms between individuals would reduce violent crime? Let's just call it 80%. 79.7. 80% say no. No, that's not going to really do much. Question 8. Do you think increasing the severity of punishments for gun trafficking, particularly by unlicensed dealers or straw purchasers who buy arms for persons ineligible to own them, would reduce instances of gun crime? Well, here...
Yeah, it's a little bit more common sense in a way. Yeah.
29% say no. See, this one's interesting. Let's break this one down, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of different variables, but I mean, the one I want to bring up, of course, is what about gun trafficking from the government? I think What about Fast and Furious? What if our own government does it? What if they traffic guns to, violent cartels and hundreds of people get slaughtered, including a couple of our own border agents? Is that okay?
Oh, I find that hard to believe. To believe.
Right.
Well, but that one does make sense. Let's sum that up there, because they're saying, do you think increasing the severity of punishments on straw purchasers would reduce instances of gun crime? Yes, say 59%.
All right, fair enough. I don't think that's. I'm not going to dispute anything in this document because
make it harder
people
for
that know what they're talking about. They
make
know
it
more
harder
than I
for
do.
a cartel member. Make it harder for a cartel member, a gangbanger, to get some felon a gun off this. They go in and buy it and hand it to them. Okay, maybe because maybe. Okay, they're saying 6 out of 10 are saying sure. 9, should citizens be required to complete a safety training class before being allowed to buy a gun? 42% say yes for all weapons. 14% say yes, but only for certain weapons, and 43% say no. Now, I'm cool with that. I think if you buy a car, you should know how to drive it. I don't know. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm not totally against that, so I don't care either way. But it looks like they're leaning yes, and that's not. Yeah, it's not such a bad thing. So people should know how to do it, especially if you've never fired a gun, and now you're 35, 40, you're buying your very first gun, and then you're just gonna buy it from the pawn shop and take it home. Yeah, you might want to learn a few things. It'd probably be in your own best interest. So yeah.
Question 10, would requiring mental health background checks on prospective buyers in all gun sales from federally licensed dealers reduce instances of mass shooting incidents? 44% say no, but when you add the unsure 24% with the 31% of yes, it looks like on that one, roughly 55% are saying that mental health background checks would reduce instances of mass shooting situations. So, that one's just tricky because
it's a slippery slope.
It's
if
a very
slippery
slope.
Crazy serotonin reuptake inhibitors, then maybe that should, that part of that psychology, that maybe that should go to the. We can debate on that. If you're,
but do you have a right to privacy? Do you have a right
to
privacy in your health?
Right.
Do you have a right to privacy?
That is true.
And are people going to be willing to go up for psychiatric assistance or psychological exams and go for counseling if they're going to get red flagged? Are people going to?
That's a great argument. Yeah.
I mean, would they? No. This is going to push a lot more stuff underground, and the pressure is going to continue to boil on that kettle. At one point, it's going to pop. If people know now, what if you took something in elementary school? All of the people that are being prescribed all of these different things for anxiety, for whether it's Prozac or Ritalin or something for ADHD. There is a culture right now in the medical world to overdiagnose and just pump people full of chemicals. So what if you were on something prescribed by a doctor that you assumed was confidential, although the IRS might not consider it confidential as per our first segment. Go check that out.
If it's over 180 days old, yeah.
Yeah. Go check that out. We'll post it on youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia about the IRS reading into your emails. They don't really think the Fourth Amendment against illegal search and seizure applies to them because I am above the law. But I mean, what if you took something before? Does that mean you're ineligible now? Well, you did something once. Now you're on a list. See, because we gotta make sure that mental health background checks on prospective buyers in all gun sales. We gotta make sure that everybody's. And I'm sorry, you don't pass, so you don't get a gun. Now imagine the upcoming generation of people that have been overprescribed things that could be added to a no list. Now just imagine you've bred an entire breed of sheeple. Easily controllable people who are not allowed to purchase guns for no apparent reason, despite the fact that the Fourth Amendment says shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. And infringement is something that gets in the way of doing it. So, these things sound great, and in a way it makes sense, but we better slow down, people. We better really slow down with this. It is a dangerous, slippery slope.
I agree for most of that. Yes, absolutely. So,
question 11: do you support the concept of a national database tracking all legal gun sales? 70% say no. How about that for an agree to disagree question? Or I trust the police officer's opinion on this Senate bill.
Well, yeah, there you go, because that's kind of like the 90%, right? It was 90% support if the Quinnipiac, whatever.
You got it.
If they said the concept of a national database tracking all legal gun sales, 90% would say yes, but 70% of law enforcement officers say no.
How big of a problem do you feel gun crime is in your jurisdiction? 16% significant, and then the rest say average or small. Question 13, do you believe that use of a firearm while perpetrating a crime should result in stiff mandatory sentences with no plea bargains? 91% say yes. So, you know, it's you should have a lot of leeway to exercise your Second Amendment right. And if you done screwed up, kid, if you done screwed up, son, look at that, 91% saying throw the book at him. You know, it is a, and if you've never held a gun, if you've never fired a gun, please do so at a shooting range in the company of somebody that knows what they're doing to show you. It is an awe-inspiring, terrorizing moment. It is extreme power. It is overwhelming. I've taken many people. In this tends to happen more to the females I have gone to the shooting range with, but they have shaken and or cried. It's intense. Like, there are explosions going off around you. You have your ear pads on. You're holding death in your hand. Yeah, it's very vital that you understand how grave this situation could be when you're playing around with guns. That's why you learn how to do it. You respect it, and you don't go crazy. You don't do bad things with it. You know, but I've seen the reaction where it's deer in headlights. It's freezing. It's I can't do this. But eventually, as soon as they pull the trigger, it's. Last time I was out, Blake, I was there with two girls that had not fired a gun before. 6 of us went, and both of them, when they shot the .45 Smith & Wesson, they both, it was bang. Oh yeah! I mean, like, they just yelled out like, "This is awesome! I want this one. I got to get one of these." It's there's something beautiful about knowing I could take down an elephant if an elephant came in my room. Like, if a crackhead came at me trying to murder me, I can stop them. It's just such a powerful, but it's powerful. So when they say 91% of the people surveyed in here out of the 15,500 police officers, or law enforcement officials rather, if you're using a gun while perpetrating a crime, should you have mandatory sentences with no plea bargains? 91% say throw the freaking book at them. Because if you're so stupid as to go out and commit a crime where you could incorporate death into the life of somebody else for no reason, yeah, you done screwed up. It is time for your stuff to be revoked. But you don't do it willy-nilly style on the amount of capacity in your magazine or anything stupid. Oh, it looks like an assault rifle. It's like, I have an assault baseball bat if I hit someone with it. Otherwise, it's just a bat. Yeah, I have an assault clipboard here, but it's just a clipboard unless I punch somebody in the eye with it. You know, anything's an assault, fill in the blank if you want to assault somebody with it. If I want to go to the shooting range and make sure that nothing ever bad happens in my house, it's not an assault anything. It's my thing. And get out of my life shall not be infringed. It's very simple, Blake. To me. I think.
Yeah, it sounds common sense to me, but not according to the Quinnipiac poll. Actually, the poll itself wasn't that bad. It's just that they're polling that one number out, and it's really it's really not that fair or that accurate. It hides a lot of variables, like, do people already know that there's a background check? I mean, that would be one thing. If the people, like, if there was no background check whatsoever, just anybody could walk into a hardware store, not a hardware store, but a sporting goods store right now and just go buy a gun, yeah, that could cause a problem. So, but there's already the background check system in place. And when you look at somebody like Adam Lanza, who I believe was rejected 5 times trying to buy a gun, and he was not allowed to because of something in his background. So there's things in that poll that can be taken out of context. They're not right. But this one that we're reading you now, this is the one that people need to pay attention to.
Number 14, what is your opinion of some law enforcement leaders' public statements that they would not enforce more restrictive gun laws in their jurisdictions? 49% say they have a very favorable opinion of some law enforcement leaders' statements saying they would not enforce more restrictive gun laws in their jurisdictions. Number 15, if you were sheriff or chief, how would you respond to more restrictive gun laws? 45% not enforce, and join in the public vocal opposition effort. What do you think about those two?
Yeah, well, the first one, not to make it sound like the other side says 50%, because, yeah, it's 48% say very favorable and 22% say favorable. So that's technically 71% right there that view it favorable if their law enforcement leader says, nope, we're not going to enforce more restrictive gun laws and the Fed can keep out. Well, basically. So that's a significant number there.
Well, you could call it 82% if you put in there neutral or unsure.
Well, that'd be that might be a little unfair, but I think that's still 70%. Yeah, we could take that part out. So it's really only 16.8% that would say it's unfavorable. That would say, yeah. So that's where it gets significant. So it's not like 48 versus 52. It's literally 70 versus 16.
See, I like what we're doing here. Like we're busting each other's chops over the interpretation of the data, and that's what you need to do.
Right.
I mean, like really, you got to break this down. I have a psychology degree, and so I learned about SSRIs and cognitive neuroscience, and don't ask me questions right now. It's been a while. But what I did learn about very strongly was the importance of understanding the sample size of a poll, understanding the types of questions that were asked. Were they leading? In what environment were they administered? Who funded the research? Sample size versus is it repeatable? Has this been tried in other regions? Is this something that's specifically low? You ask a million questions. It's called science, and I love it. That's in fact why I like the show Coast to Coast AM, is because they'll talk about Sasquatch and UFOs and government conspiracies and health and finance, and I mean they go all over the board, but they do science. They let a lot of opinions out there, and they they let it go, and they let the listeners be the judge, and they're really digging into I mean, how do you talk ghosts and precognitive thought and remote viewing and
paranormal, fringy,
the soul, paranormal activities and government conspiracies. It's hard, but they put their science right out there in the open, and they break it down question by question, and they investigate it. And I think all surveys and all studies, I say they're doing the best science out there. You want some propaganda from the right wing, watch some Fox. You want some propaganda from the left wing, watch some MSNBC. That's fine. They're good at what they do. Some of it's actually pretty good in the midst of all the garbage. But really, it's very crafted to elicit a certain response. We're the guinea pigs in their experiment, But you got to go and kind of dig into your own research, and I think that's what we're doing in this survey. You've kind of corrected me on a couple of these, and I do appreciate it. I legitimately mean that. Number 16, do you believe that gun buyback or turn-in programs can be or have been effective in reducing the level of gun violence? 81%, no.
That's a big one, because they're always promoting those. Yeah, turn in your guns, and we'll give you a $50 Walmart gift card.
I was going to say Toys R Us.
Yeah. There you go, Toys R Us, another one. All right, yes, that's pretty telling. Yeah, 81% say they are not effective.
Question 17.
That's coming from your law enforcement that actually conducts these things.
Indeed. 17. Do you have an active open carry movement, which is individuals and groups carrying firearms as a means of political statement in your jurisdiction? 34% yes, and 65% no. So I mean, 35%.
Well, it doesn't really say anything. It's just specifically asking the officers what state. I mean, it's basically what state or county. That's all relative to where they're policing at or enforcing laws from, so it doesn't really necessarily apply to the greater.
Well, the nenext question follows up on it. Yeah. Whether or not you have active open carry movement in your jurisdiction, what's your opinion about the concept and the practice?
All right.
41% say it is a valid concept, but the practice is misguided. 31% say I support both concept and practice. And 18% say in both concept and practice, open carry is a bad idea. 10%.
Yeah, that's the one that's that's a little bit weird. So we have got almost 20% say that the concept of what is it? What is it? Is it open carry or concealed carry? That's open carry.
Open carry.
So 20% don't like to see Joe and Bob walking around with, guns that are out in full public view. Okay, that's, it's a difference between that and concealed. That's open carry. And I don't think that many places do. As that poll says, only 35% of all of these officers even work in a state or county where people are allowed to open carry. And then it is a kind of a weird thing. It's that kind of psychological thing where people don't like to see that. But we'll make that distinction between open carry and concealed carry, two totally different things.
Well, we'll do this right here. Number 19, do you support the concealed carry of firearms by civilians who have not been convicted of a felony?
Yeah, big one right here.
And or have not been deemed psychologically or medically incapable. So, do you support concealed carry by civilians?
Yeah, this is a different number, yes.
91% yes, without question and without further restrictions. 4% of the people here, a couple hundred out of the 15,000, say no, only law enforcement officers should carry firearms. Hang on, say that in the Dianne Feinstein voice.
No, only law enforcement officers should carry firearms. All right.
Or Pierce Morgan could say it too.
No, only law enforcement officers should carry firearms. That's 1 in 25. Only 1 in 25 of these police officers said, no, we're the only ones that should carry firearms. So that's probably the New York, Chicago crowd.
It's working so well in New York. Okay, let's talk about D.C. too. So 91% support the concealed carry of firearms by civilians who haven't been, convicting felonies or psychological impairments.
Yeah, it makes sense. So only 30% really support the whole open carry thing. That's like, Wild West stuff. But 91% say if it's concealed, it's not, freaking out people in the public, then, that's totally cool because they know that those are law-abiding citizens that make their jobs easier.
On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being low and 5 being high, how important do you think legally armed citizens are to reducing crime rates overall? 55% give it a 5, saying that it's of the highest importance that legally armed citizens are carrying. That legally armed citizens are reducing crime because the bad guys know there are other people around them that could put a bullet in them if they start acting crazy and shooting at innocent people. They know that a grandpa could pull something out.
Yeah, the only guys with the guns, and they're going to be called over and over again. Like they're dependent on everything. No, they don't want to. I'm sure they wouldn't want. They wouldn't mind having a few allies, some good law-abiding citizens that are kind of a posse of sorts out there.
Two comments there. The only thing that is going to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
That's not true. It's gun-free zones. That is, sorry, never mind.
We need that buzzer.
Right.
Wait, so we're on a game show, and Pierce Morgan would ring in. I'm sorry. That was gun-free zones. I don't know whose voice I'm doing there. Yeah, so gun-free zones. So the only thing that's going to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And police don't stop crimes, they clean up crime scenes. Don't be a statistic, don't be a victim. Take responsibility for your own life. Take responsibility for your own household. Take responsibility for your own neighborhood. If it goes down, you might be the closest one there to stop a madman from a Sandy Hook. You could be a teacher in a classroom that could stop a madman from destroying the lives of countless people. We all need to be a little responsible for the environment that we're around. And the police officers say it is of the utmost importance that legally armed citizens are contributing to reducing crime rates overall. So I don't know. I mean, we're getting toward the end of this. We want to wrap up the rest of these, Blake? You want to go through some of these?
Maybe we should cherry pick just a few of these here. What would help most in preventing large-scale shootings in public? There's so many different answers that they are allowed to give, but the number one response out of about 8 is more permissive concealed carry policies for civilians. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If there was let's just say if every law-abiding, just a hypothetical, if all law-abiding citizens carried guns, I mean, you could imagine how the crime rate would absolutely get crushed. So, yeah, you would have a hell of a time trying to get, pull off a mass shooting when there could be 20 people around you that are concealed carrying and you don't even have any idea. So, yeah, that would send quite the message here. Let's see. So, yeah, considering number 22, considering the particulars of recent tragedies like Newtown and Aurora, what level impact do you think that a legally armed citizen could have made? Which statement would you feel is the more accurate? Out of 5, 80% said casualties would likely have been reduced. Yeah, you're not going to prevent crazy from bringing a gun into the movie theater, but if you had, let's say, several armed people in the audience, then yeah, if people that start firing back, then that gives then the gunman's either running for cover, or in a lot of situations they just turn the gun on themselves when they see opposition. All right, so yeah, do you support arming teachers or school administrators who volunteer to carry at their school? This is one of my ideas, or not one of my. I came up with it, but I support that. And yes, 76% said yes. If teachers, administrators, faculty are vetted and trained and qualified annually, absolutely. So. And 15% say only sworn school resource officers should be armed. So that's kind of more of the NRA thing. Let's put an armed security guard in every school. I think that's a waste of money. I would rather see any teacher who wants to do it to be able to just conceal carry and have multiple people rather than paying somebody. Anyway, yeah, here's another one. Do you carry a firearm off duty? Let's check with law enforcement. What do they do when they're out and about? Yeah, 60% say they always carry a firearm, 23% usually. The only 1.6 who say never to off-duty police officers. Only 1.6. That means the cops are always concealed carrying, just about, except for that very tiny amount. I don't know. Do you think proposed new legislation setting a limit on magazine capacity would negatively affect you? 2/3 said yes. That means a lot of cops, because if they reduce these, like you had the thing in New York where they were reducing guns to only hold 7 bullets. That affected the cops themselves, who were like, "Hey, I'm a police officer. I concealed carry. Most clips hold more than 7 bullets, there, Jack."
What did that woman say? That as soon as the magazine's done, you have to throw it away?
Yeah, the Colorado lawmaker. Yeah, she didn't understand that you can reuse the magazine over and over again and put new bullets in it. But yeah, it shows you that's the mentality, and she's probably one of those people who wants to do the cheerleading with the 90% support it, 90%, and they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just playing emotion over logic and common sense. So I don't know, Brian. Let's see here. I think that's about.
Yeah, the other one talks about the decline in what's the biggest cause of gun violence, decline in parenting and family values, 38%.
That's the last one. Yeah, that's the last question. Yeah, what do you believe is the biggest cause of gun violence?
And I mean, there's a lot to that. When people can't make, it's hard enough to keep a household running properly, let alone when both of the parents have to be out working and the kids are unsupervised when they get home from school and get into God knows what and hanging out with God knows who and consuming God knows what and putting God knows what inside. Okay, I'm going to stop that now because it's getting gross. But I mean, think back to when you were in high school and when you were unsupervised. What did you get into? It's a rhetorical question, Blake. I really don't want to know. Probably some eccentric things, I'm sure. But I mean, there is something that could be said for this, and especially if you're a single parent, maybe you're working 2 jobs, and there's something that can be said.
I grew up in a similar circumstance, but yes, I was also fortunate to grow up in the Minnesota suburbs, but not a lot of other people are that fortunate. And yeah, it would be a lot different if you were in a different environment. Things could change dramatically, and it's so important, I think, to rethink our structure of our families rather than was it Melissa Harris Perry of MSNBC who thinks the state should own your children, or basically that the community needs to take a bigger approach in your kids rather than having going back to more of a traditional family values, because yes, you're not it's going to be a lot harder to get in trouble when your mom's home and looking out for you.
Well, you said Melissa Harris Perry. In case you're not sure who this is an MSNBC host talking about parenting and family values.
We have never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children.
Yeah, kind of a private notion of children. Yeah, kind of. You know, this thing where, I don't know, the kids are kind of private.
Always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children.
Creepy. Keep her away from the children's parties dressed as a clown. There's kind of a collective notion that these are our the community children. I'm Melissa Harris Perry. Sorry, I'll just...
Responsibility.
Right.
We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
Lean forward. MSNBC. We want your children. We want your children. Yeah, 431 likes, 4,900 dislikes. Huh. That's, 10 to 1? Give or shake? Yeah.
Well, and it's hard to say because people might have just liked it for the wrong reason. I don't think there's that many. Yeah, I think they're probably voting on the same issue. Like they like it because it's so bad, not necessarily against it, but you never know. I doubt that many people came to her rescue, but because she got absolutely slaughtered by the by the media, by the conservative media. Drudge Report. That was pretty funny. The way that blew up.
By the way, let me just wrap this up about this survey that we read, and you can go check it out. Where do they search? Go to police1.com. It's called. You can search gun policy and law enforcement survey results. I just want to give you the final piece of background.
Yeah.
Here.
Get that out to everybody. Yeah, you gotta let that. This is the real polls here. Quit letting them play these little 90% garbage, and let's listen to one that actually matters.
So about this survey, Police One's gun policy and law enforcement survey was conducted between March 4 and March 13, 2013. More than 15,000 officers completed the survey, which was promoted by Police One exclusively to its 400,000 registered members, comprised of verified law enforcement professionals. Only current, former, or retired law enforcement personnel were eligible to participate in the survey. The survey sample size was broadly distributed by geography and rank in proportion to the U.S. law enforcement community at large. Respondents comprised a variety of ranks from departments of all sizes, with the majority representing departments of greater than 500 officers. Of those that took the survey, 80% were current law enforcement officers and 20% were former or retired law enforcement. So, you got to know your source. You got to consider your source. You got to do your own research. You got to dig into the facts. And this one, this is the people, this is the group of people who we pay tax dollars to professionally train, be prepared, be equipped to handle the most dangerous, deadly, disgusting things out there, because they're jobs we just don't want to do. This is tough work. This is tough work, and these people are recommending exactly what Blake and I are saying. Be a little bit more self-reliant, take charge of your own life, be responsible when you get there, and stop all the government overreach. It's just not doing any good. Blake, we're about out of time here, so why don't you do us a favor and remind everybody. First off, I want to thank you for being a part of the program again, as always. And would you kindly take a moment to let people know where they can find you?
Eccentricperspective.com with the best place. Well, I think Twitter would be great. Eccentric99. You can also find me at freedomizerradio.com, where you can join me in live show chat or what have you, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 12 to 1:30 Pacific. You can also find the podcast by going over to iTunes and looking for Eccentric Perspective.
Very good. Blake, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. I don't know if you're going to listen off air, but I'm going to play that Juice Media Rap News again. It's just a fantastic song. Blake, thank you for your time. And as I said before, everybody, Blake and I are getting very close now. We can kind of see the finish line over the horizon with a new syndicated radio show that I think will exist in conjunction with his Eccentric Perspective, our Agree to Disagree, our The Unhappy Hour, and the other things. This will be an additional show. More details coming soon. So, Blake, thank you again for joining us. Appreciate the time, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. So this has been yet another episode of Agree to Disagree. I sincerely, politely, profoundly, and graciously thank you for listening and inquire and put out there that you might consider following us on Twitter at American_media_. Go on youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia and subscribe to the page so you can get all these shows when they come out. Search The New American Media on Facebook and like the page. That'd be sweet. Leave some comments. And check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. My name's Brian Engelman. This has been Agree to Disagree. And like I said, I'm going to leave you with a really cool song. Check it out. It's about the Fourth Amendment issues against illegal search and seizure that I've been talking about. This is by Juice Media. It's called Rap News 15. Big Brother is watching. We'll talk with you again soon. Peace.
Welcome back, netizens, to this newest edition in Juice Media series of rap news journalism with me, Robert Foster. This evening we're actively delving in depth to facts which affect all of us who dwell on this internet. And we've got to give a special welcome to all the ladies and agents from the NSA, ACO, MI5. Glad you're listening in, because today's show is all about surveillance and how it's spreading from the streets into our modems. As we speak, laws are being tacitly written in to implement ways of controlling the expanse of this internet to keep us safe, we're told. But from whom? And will this place ever be the same if these plans go through? To find out, we connect with our first guest to comment on the matter. We're live at the Panopticon with General Baxter. General? Son? Good to have you back again with us. Explain why the state is spying on us.
My fellow Oceanians, as you know, we've always been at war with Eurasia. Or is it East Asia? Either way, it's war and we need division to wage it. But now the proles are connecting online, bypassing these illusory divisions of race, religion, and nationality.
Sounds grand to me.
It's a catastrophe. Centuries of hard work are being undone, profits are vanishing, and it's due to the internet. It's empowering humanity. We need to get this snafu under control rapidly.
How?
Behold the latest weapon in the war of terror. Our greatest invention since 9/11. Guaranteed to keep us free and safe forever. I give you the surveillance state, ladies and generals. Our secret wires log your key style. Monitor every single number on your speed dial. Rewind straight to your position with facial recognition and pinpoint you within 0.03 of a mile. We've put eyes everywhere without consulting you, keeping you safe whether or not you want us to. Soon there'll be no freedoms left for threatening. Then we'll have won the war. Take that, terrorism.
Brilliant. Thank you, General. We now interview our resident guru, Terrence Moonseed, for a different view.
Greetings.
How does this situation look?
I have one word for you, Robert. Double plus ungood. The world populace of 7.4 billion are all headed in the direction of Orwellian totalitarian oblivion. My voice is hoarse, yelling about stellar winds, cold chilling them and trap wire weaving through the world wide web we all dwelling in. Face it, the all-seeing eyes in all of our Facebooks like a virus, and in these iPhones with Siri, or should I say Iris. Next in line is RFID devices and mind chips triggered by chemtrails the plague spray the sky with. This time it's too far. Check out the base they're building in Utah, where they'll be storing all your data for over a century. It's FUBAR. And under the outback is an entire tunnel of wires, an echelon base called Pine Gap to hijack our mother Gaia.
Hey, maybe your mother's gayer.
Boo-hoo. Why didn't you just kill yourself like most of your troops do?
That's it. Now you're on the cast iron list.
Hang on, General. Why weren't we informed about this?
Sorry we didn't tell you about our grand plan before. It was meant to be a surprise, under wraps in a store. But some spoil sports had to go and ruin it for all by blowing whistles in spite of the damn law.
Bill, Benny, and Thomas Drake are trailblazers for leaking these tactics.
Hey, civil liberty activists, this is all legal. Anything we do now actually is.
How did...
You can't question my authority, thanks to this.
And that shit's global, people. In Australia, it's now legal for the government to store all SMSs, searches, and emails. Australians, it's taking place under your nose. Unless you wake up, all your data are belong to ACO.
Come on, everyone knows. You can trust the government now. If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to worry about.
That might be the case with things that are happening now, because most people agree with most of the laws that are being handed down. But once the Illuminati reveal their agenda for you, this surveillance will enforce laws you no longer consent to. But by then it'll be too late to protest too, and anything you've ever said, typed, or browsed can or will be used against you.
I'm confused. So what should we do then?
What should we do? Nothing. This is all an illusion. It's just a ride, a delusion, the Matrix, the Maya deceiving us.
You hippies really make our job so much easier.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're picking up a signal from beyond the space-time continuum. Quick, switch on the juice channeling portal. Wait, is that George Orwell?
Good day to you.
Wow, what do we owe this honor to?
I tried to warn you noobs, but I see you are actually fools, or else you thought this was an instruction manual.
Yes, so can you advise us? What would you have us do?
An open and universal internet is the most effective tool you have to address the issues that afflict the world at hand. Therefore, protecting it is the most essential task that stands before your generation.
I think I understand.
Hush, man! You must not lose the internet. Heed this mantra. Who controls the internet controls the data. And who controls the data controls the future.
We're losing you!
I leave you with a tool to use.
An onion? Don't be simple, Robert. This is but a simile. It stands for Tor. Tor? Google it. It's for anonymity. This onion router open network helps considerably against tyranny, but its abilities only work if all you use it consistently. And even if you don't use it, run it so its force swells. Thanks, Mr. Orwell. From now on, call me George Torwell. If we'd had such tools when I wrote this, well, it would have been so much simpler to tell Big Brother to go f himself. The sucking piece of Thanks, George Torwell, for manifesting direct from this memory hole of history to impress on us these messages. We're told we need safety, which is precious, yes, but can a society that can enforce all its laws ever progress? Hindsight shows that many figures guilty of thought crime turned out to be luminaries and heroes before their time. But if a surveillance state had reigned then in this form and design, just think of all the progress we may have all been denied. Could lobbies for women's or gay rights have appeared and thrived? Would revolutionary ideals have materialized? Would science have pioneered or even survived if every word had been monitored by thought police and spies? Big Brother brings chilling effects, freezing our collective hopes. He doesn't protect our safety, but protects the status quo and threatens this internet, the one channel yet uncontrolled, whose openness we are now called upon to effect and uphold.
If you're tired of the other stuff, take a look at thenewamericanmedia.com.